This is GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 220, entitled Warning to Feminazi Divorce Court Judges and Lawyers. Description. This flyer warns feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers that if they don't raise their masculist consciousnesses and menfair the divorce courts, then men will murder them. No culture that financially crucifies a quarter of its married fathers can survive. Men will eventually snap, pick up arms, and murder their oppressors. The flyer itself. Warning to feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. A sex war is brewing. No culture which possesses a gender climate in which one married father in four is financially massacred and has his life destroyed can survive. Eventually men will snap, pick up arms and start killing the oppressors who are destroying them. Specifically, these oppressors are the hated feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers whose feminazi attitudes are designed to destroy men, to get their revenge as feminazis against men whom they see as oppressors of women. Men are currently going through a revolution, similar to the way women went through their feminist revolution in the late 60s and early 70s, when they became conscious of how traditional men kept women from achieving equal status and employment opportunities with men. Now men are waking up to their traditional role of being manslaves to women, working for women, and are rebelling against it by putting tremendous moral pressure on women to get off their parasitic lazy bums and FIP up, that is, become FIPs, financially independent persons, or be punished by men by not having one, hence rotting on the shelf to extinction. But these feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers have not had their masculist consciousness raised, so by default their heads are filled only with the ways they see men oppressing women, and have little clue how the reverse is also true, so they impose their oppressive criminal standards on divorcing men and financially crucify them, ruining their lives by ripping their children away from them with a 90% probability, stealing their house from them and giving it to their fluffy ex-wives, stealing half of his possessions to go to the same parasite, forcing him to pay child support to kids he will barely see, and often forced to pay alimony to his fluffy ex-wife so that she can continue to parasite off him after the divorce the way she did before the divorce, with no moral or legal pressure on her to get off her parasitic fluffy ass and FIP up by getting a job. Most of these divorce court judges and lawyers are feminazis, and hence have a female brain, with its 10 billion fewer neurons, as neuroscience shows. They evolved to be amoral when it comes to the sexploitation of males, to give females resources. For example, in the ancient past, that would be scarce male-hunted meat, in exchange for access to women's cunts. In today's world, for men's money. These feminazis see divorcing men as subhuman cash machines, to be abused to give women money. They relish punishing men because their heads are filled with feminazi propaganda. They are amorally unsympathetic to the men they criminally abuse. It's therefore no wonder that feminazi divorce lawyers and judges are so hated and increasingly murderously hated by men. But the tide is turning. The damage and hatred generated by these criminal feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers is so strong that 2/3 of young men under 35 now refuse to marry, refuse to have kids and spend their money on themselves. This paternity rejection by MGTOWs, men going their own way, is causing the population to crash. This is already happening in Japan. The rise of the MGTOWs and masculists, that's men's livers, was caused by the toxicity of the divorce courts. So indirectly, the hated feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers are now seen by men as genociders, because it is they who are the root cause of the population crash, so have to be stopped. MGTOW and masculist ideas are now spreading exponentially, and in a year or two, nearly all men in Western countries will be familiar with their arguments, and that will change the way men look upon the criminality of the fluffy feminist, feminazi-dominated divorce courts. Increasingly, men will be telling divorce judges, quote, "You will give me joint custody of my kids. I will keep my house. There will be no alimony, and you will put heavy moral pressure on my fluffy parasite ex-wife to fip up, or, if not, if you financially crucify me, financially massacre me and destroy my life, I won't commit suicide. I will turn my masculinist rage into a murderous hatred against you, and I will kill you. I will murder you. I will come to this courthouse with a semi-automatic weapon, shoot the security guards, who unfortunately will be men, women being such hypocritical cowards, and then kill as many feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers as I can. I will be at war against the enslavement and oppression of men committed by you hated feminazis." The feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers need to become conscious of what is now happening to men. Men are liberating themselves in a way closely analogous to the way women did in the late 60s. MGTOWs and masculists no longer tolerate fluffies, that's traditional women who expect to be able to parasite off men's money. The basic, unquestioned, unconscious assumption of the feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers is that women are fluffies and hence need to be paid for by their manslave ex-husbands. Masculists, who are a lot more political than the apolitical, passively wimpy MGTOWs, utterly reject fluffies, punishing them by refusing to have anything to do with them, not even pumping and dumping them, forcing them to fip up or they don't eat. Fluffies are the enemy of the masculists, who see them as immoral, parasitic, manslaving vermin to be wiped out. Feminazis have not had their masculist consciousness raised, so by default still have fluffy feminist attitudes towards men, that is, seeing them as cash machines. Feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers had political, legislative and legal power to impose the man-slave role on divorcing fathers and destroy their lives. Hence the masculists are at war against the fluffies, and especially against the fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts. Feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers need to wake up to the new gender realities regarding men, or they will pay a heavy price. Now that 1 billion Western men are having their MGTOW/masculist consciousness raised, they no longer tolerate what is happening to them in the divorce courts and are becoming murderously angry. Soon, the murder rate of feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers will shoot up as divorcing fathers take the law into their own hands because they have no faith in the current gender laws that are so oppressive and destructive towards males. They will pick up arms and start killing thousands of divorce court judges and lawyers. Divorce courts will be arsoned in their hundreds as crime scenes against men, as men express their revolutionary hatred against a gender climate that is abusing half the population. That has to be changed, because if not, the population gets wiped out due to the paternity rejection of the MGTOWs and masculists. So, to you feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers, and gender politicians who are even more hated enemy of the masculists, you need to menfair the gender laws, menfair the divorce courts by, in concrete terms, throwing out alimony, giving joint custody by default, allowing the original owner of the house to keep it, and putting enormous moral pressure on women to be FIPs so that they do not expect to financially massacre their ex-husbands with their amoral female nature. Men are learning in their millions that women don't love men, that women love men's sexploitability and will coldly and disloyally monkey branch to a more sexploitable male if the opportunity realistically arrives, dumping her current man in favour of the better one. Women evolve to be like this, that is, to be hypergamous. Men are learning this and are developing a deep suspicion of women's true, evolved nature. Men are becoming increasingly conscious that roughly 1 in 4 wives will callously financially massacre their ex-husbands, expressing their true amoral female nature, not caring about the sufferings of the man they are crucifying. Men increasingly are not tolerating this and are fighting back against it. One of the major obstacles in this fight, this sex war, is the Feminazi divorce court system. This flyer is a warning to the Feminazi divorce court judges and lawyers. You need to change your attitudes towards men. You need to see them as human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity, especially considering that they are the superior sex, building everything, inventing everything, creating everything, with higher average IQs, winning 99% of the science Nobel Prizes, etc. The warning is that if you don't stop financially massacring men in your divorce courts, if you don't stop treating divorcing men as subhuman cash machines to be financially abused in favour of fluffy ex-wives, then you will suffer the fate you deserve. You will be murdered. You will become casualties in the sex war as men rise up, take up arms and fight for male dignity. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channels De Garis, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers, and Hugo de Garis.